What's up, wrestling fans? Two Brothers Wrestling Show coming at you live. We're live. That's all I got. Nothing witty.
We're live.
There's nothing witty in this brain, but we are live, and I'm right in your face. Whoa, sorry about that. I'm excited to be back alive. What's happening, everybody? Kevin.
We're live and a little late, but that's all right.
Well, technical difficulties. It happens, especially when you're live.
And we are talking about next weekend's pay-per-views, and I do say that with...
My goodness.
I know. We got dueling pay-per-views next week, so we're calling tonight's show Forbidden Heatwave, because, that's how clever we are. Why not?
Wasn't that an 80s crime show with William Shatner, Forbidden Heatwave? There's like a TJ Hooker's spinoff.
We have NXT and AEW doing the TJ Hooker next weekend, doing Forbidden Door on the AEW side, Heatwave on the NXT side. We are very confident that we can get both of those previewed for you in our main event, but it has been a while since we have done a live show. And in that time, there's been a little bit of news.
Stuff has happened.
And there we have our opening bell.
Hoorah.
So let's talk about some of this many things we need to play some catch up on. By far the biggest news in wrestling, and it's going to be either love it or loathe it news, is that in the US, Peacock is losing access to WWE's PLEs as those rights shift to ESPN in 2026. For WWE, this is good news, as obviously $325 million a year for them over the next 5 years to show WrestleMania and other PLEs is $125 million more a year than what they're currently getting from Peacock. And it should be noted that what they're getting from Peacock is not only $125 million less, they're getting that $325 million from ESPN and not including NXT PLEs, not including the library. So Peacock is paying a whole lot less for a whole lot more. WWE now is going to be able to take not only their $325 million a year, putting it in their pocket, they're going to be able to sell separately their NXT PLEs and their vast, massive tape library. And they do plan to sell those rights separately, and those rights leave Peacock. The archive will leave Peacock in March of 2026, if I have my dates correct. So Peacock is still in the running, supposedly, for those rights. They are interested. They apparently made a deal for the PLEs, but could not match what ESPN can offer. Obviously, for WWE, you're going with not only more money, but people associate ESPN with sports. I mean, that is the biggest brand in sports broadcasting. But then we've talked the positive for, WWE. Obviously, they get to have their cake. They get to eat it too. They get more media rights deals to make. They're stacking money. They're now involved with the biggest sports streamer in the world that is launching this service here in August. And that is where we talk about what it means for fans, because when it launches later this month, ESPN's new streaming service is going to cost $29.99 a month, which is a lot more money than what you're paying for Peacock if you're currently paying for Peacock. The caveat is, though, that some fans who already pay for TV through either a cable channel package or a streaming bundle package of live networks, if it includes ESPN, you may get access to ESPN Plus for free. They do not want, because their whole business model in the past has been built on a cable model, they do not want people canceling cable and cutting the cord. So at least for right now, they're giving most for free. And when I say some, this is where things get convoluted, because there are many services on the outside looking in. Doug, right now, you and I'm pretty sure, are on the outside looking in, because if you have YouTube TV, which we do, they don't have a deal with YouTube TV yet. If you're still on cable and you're with one of the largest cable companies, that being Comcast/Xfinity, that also does not yet include you. Sling's also on the outside looking in, but supposedly ESPN and WWE are looking and attempting to launch this standalone service by getting those services like Xfinity, like YouTube TV in on this whole, if you already are paying for ESPN, you get the streaming service for free. If we end up with the pay-per-views for free, it's going to be better for you. If you aren't interested in sports in large, probably wouldn't, subscribe to ESPN other than wrestling. And I know, Doug, I am looking at you and I. $29.99, put that out over a year, is going to cost you significantly more than what you're paying for ESPN, or for Peacock right now. So
it's just significantly more than
significantly more. And then what if you want NXT or the tape library, or who knows where that will, how many services you're going to have to subscribe to get it all eventually. We know this is the way it's going. This really is the end of that whole WWE network era where it's all everything in one place for one price. This is just, proof, as if we weren't already heading that way, that those days are over. The whole, hey, over. Everything for $9.99 a month, that whole tagline, that seems like a great thing of the past. Gone. Again, a lot of moving parts. It's way too early to say because there's so many deals to be made between now and next year when this all happens. So who knows where it'll end up, but we will have a full episode later in this, closer to when it happens. We're going to do something in the fall where we break down exactly how much this is going to cost you, what the details are. I say for now, if you're watching this in August, and I would say maybe don't Peacock for a year, because I got my notice that my Peacock subscription is getting ready to renew for the entire year with a cost increase. Maybe go month by month right now until things get sorted would be my advice.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with that until we figure out what's going on, especially if you have Peacock just for wrestling. I mean,
when I'm sure many who are watching this very likely do. A quick related story on media rights, but WWE's sister corporation, UFC, is ditching the old pay-per-view model altogether, and they have sold their rights to Paramount Plus with a 7-year deal worth just shy of $8 billion.
Wow.
In other words, it's been a very good week to own TKO stock.
Wow.
The other major news while we were off was a number of wrestlers leaving WWE. Gone are Austin Theory, Ashante the Adonis, and then probably most famously, as far as the noise that has been made since they left, is the removal from the roster of Karrion Kross and Scarlett. All of this appears to be contract expirations, not just out and out releases. That's kind of how they do things now. But Kross in particular, Doug, has been very vocal since his release about talking how he hopes to still finish his career in WWE. That's still his goal. But he was critical, very vocal on the direction he had been given during his recent run to just out and out ignore the groundswell of fan support that Charlotte had. Does any of these departures surprise you?
The first two, no, but Kross and Scarlett, I've got a lot in my brain, and I don't know how to process it yet, because we live in this era now where Triple H especially tends to even work the workers. I mean, look what I did with Seth Rollins, which I thought was brilliant, but now every time anything happens, though, it's like, is this a work? Is it a shoot? What's going on here? I mean, Karrion Kross, the day his contract expires, he has like this, YouTube like a documentary, which is shot very well. It looks very ready to go. Drop it, boom, here we go. Yeah. And WWE's still promoting his book. Now Kross's merchandise, the last time I checked, was still on WWE Shop as well, which is not uncommon if they're dropping people, because they have all these shirts pre-made. It's not like pre-on-demand like 1 hour tees and wrestle tees. These are already ready to go, so they want to move that merch. But usually, don't they mark those things down and kind of just try to move them? And I mean, he's been out of his contract a week, so is it a work? Is it a shoot? And why should we care, really? What's going on?
You know, it wouldn't be the first time. Obviously, Karrion Kross and Scarlett have crossed this bridge once before. So if he does end up finishing his career in WWE, whether this is a work or whether or not it is a shoot, which it does kind of appear to be, I wouldn't say that this is definitely done for Karrion in WWE. You could possibly finish your career there, but yeah, he might have burned a bridge or two with some of the comments he's made since. If this is not, in fact, as you suggest, possibly a work. I mean, Killer Cross, his merch is available now on WrestleTees, so who knows what the truth here is. I'll be honest, I'm not terribly surprised in just the fact that they never really got behind Karrion. Even after they brought him back, I was hopeful that it'd be a little different. They seemed like it was more towards the end, and then it was the end. So I'm in some ways a little more surprised on Austin Theory. He is so young still and so incredibly talented and a former Evolve champ and, you know, a handpicked, like, you know, golden star Vince McMahon and all of this. To give up on him, I think that's some untapped potential too. So I can't imagine he won't find his way back to the Fed, but we'll have to just watch all of this. It's very interesting what's happened since we last been live. In counter programming news, WWE is adding a premium live event to go head to head with AEW's All Out in September. I know we talked about how we're getting ready in our main event to talk about NXT counter programming AEW. This will be, though, the first time that a main roster PLE is going to go head to head with AEW. They have typically thrown NXT out there as AEW's competition. This pay-per-view in September does not yet have a name, but it very well may have a main event because it looks like they're going with the Cena-Lesnar matchup to counter-program All Out, which is crazy that they're doing this to a competition that is far in the rearview mirror, but they're still going at them.
But it's so interesting how much like Nick Khan and I'm presuming Triple H, the powers that be now really recognize or acknowledge AEW as something. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that this level of counter programming is necessarily needed from WWE, but it
does seem like you're picking on Baby Brother.
Right. I mean, if I'm Tony, I'm flattered by this. Hey, this is great. You consider me this much of a threat?
So I actually have a related story, and this relates back to more media rights. This time it's regarding TNA, if you've been hearing this groundswell this week. But TNA is deep into the discussions for their own media rights, which we have reported here before. They hope to have a deal in place by October, just around the corner. TNA President Carlos Silva, though, has indicated the recent WWE and UFC deals that we just referenced have actually changed the entire landscape for TNA as well, and has provided them with some momentum of their own. And he has not exactly spelled out what this is, but Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer has reported that the CW and A&E are possible landing spots. Sports Illustrated further reported this week that there have been discussions between TNA moving to a WWE associated network, and WWE is helping with that. Obviously, both TNA and A&E, because of their documentary series, things they do on Sunday nights, all of that, they are both WWE associates. SI is further reporting that TNA is open to shifting from Thursdays to Wednesdays to go head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. I promise this all ties together because I have one more counter-programming story, and that regards John Cena's last match. John Cena's last match is in December, and it is rumored to be moving. Originally, they were planning WWE was going to have it mid-December on Saturday night's main event. Now, that could move to December 27th. And if you are someone with a wrestling calendar in front of you, you will know December 27th is head-to-head with AEW's final pay-per-view of 2025. So if you see a theme here with the media rights, with the moving and counter-programming and moving big things like Lesnar, Cena, the theme here with TNA getting a boost from WWE, all of this is the counter programming, WWE getting involved. The big picture developing is WWE is not looking to compete with AEW. WWE is actively trying to put AEW out of business. There are many within WWE who would like to make TNA the clear number 2 and a number 2 that they can control, as opposed to having an AEW they cannot control. And further, it's been reported that there are those within WWE that want this big media rights deal that Tony Khan just got to be the last one that Warner Brothers Discovery give to them. That if they can put the hurt on them, they will go from being the profitable number 2 to being out of business. Doug, it does seem like it's in some ways picking on the little guy. Like, why in the world do they care so much? But it is obviously that WWE just doesn't want anyone even close enough that could possibly turn any tides. Right. They're looking to exterminate Tony.
Right. I mean, this is some very Vince McMahon level shenanigans that's happening. Very much so. I mean, but
if you didn't know any better, you think they're back there pulling some strings.
But everything Triple H learned. Who did he learn that from? Who did he learn how to run a wrestling business from? I
mean, we think that Triple H's era is the kinder, gentler era, but maybe on the inside, maybe to the outside world, he is just as cutthroat as the old man.
He did learn from. I mean, and we got Vince's daughter there, who I'm sure picked up a thing or two about how to run a business as well, and it's in Triple H's ear. So, and Nick Khan is not a fool either, though. Nick Khan can see the writing on the wall and is a very business savvy and media savvy guy. So, we got Khan versus Khan.
Khan versus Khan. I know you said Tony should be complimented, but do you think he should also be worried? Do you think he should be? Yeah.
I mean, because they have this behemoth that behind them anyway, and they can throw the money around to counter program with like Cena Lesnar, with less than a month to put it together, and not even name the pay-per-view yet. And Tony has no chance.
How about a TNA? I mean, does a TNA with WWE backing have a legitimate shot at being a number 2? Should
we get
worried if TNA ends up on the CW on Wednesday nights? I would say that he'd be foolish to not be concerned, because they are a pretty hot product right now themselves, and they do have the machine very possibly backing them.
That's just it. They have the machine backing them. I mean, we're looking at like old school WCW, where it was kind of like quiet that those checks were coming from the WWF every month. But
I'm glad you mentioned those checks, because that also was reported, and I almost forgot to mention it. If you've not heard this, reportedly, this is further reporting from the Wrestling Observer, is that the arrangement between WWE and TNA does include a buyout clause.
Of course,
we have right of first refusal to buy TNA. And if anyone else shows interest in TNA, which, by the way, they have, that's why Carlos Silva's licking his chops, because he knows he's about to make a deal. Whatever offer is on the table, WWE has the right to match it. And if they do, it's the WWE deal that must be accepted. So WWE's in the catbird seat here. Tony Silva's not in a bad spot either, because no matter what, they're going to get paid when they sell. If I was Tony, I would be legitimately worried about this change in the wrestling landscape.
Yeah, I mean, they've already scooped up AAA. They scooped up, TNA. TNA is pretty much in the palm of their hand. And again, they can counter program on a whim almost and throw a PLE together in no time just to counter program.
That probably brings us to so we can get to our previews.
Right.
We got one more story, and that's a great segue to bring our opening bell to a close, because throwing pay-per-views together, WWE is reportedly considering 2 WrestleMania events in 2027.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you possibly guess where one of those is being considered to be held there, Doug?
It's Las Vegas, Kevin?
Actually, no. The hint I was going for is a particular country that you always love pay-per-views coming from. Yep.
No.
That's right. Yeah. The company is reportedly looking to have the domestic WrestleMania and a second WrestleMania coming to Saudi Arabia. There is a push to not only bring a second WrestleMania in a same calendar year of 2027, they are pushing to have The Rock headline the event. There isn't word on where the American city will be that will host the WrestleMania of 2027, but having 2 in a year would be the surprising aspect, more than the location, honestly, because Saudi has already held many events, including they're tabbed already to host the 2026 Royal Rumble. We'll obviously be following this very closely. Even taking the Saudi aspect and what you think about that arrangement aside, WrestleMania is a once a year. You don't have 2 Christmases in a year. You don't have 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
It's a special event. One a year. I don't care where it is. There should only be one. Make it 2 nights if you need to, but not 2 different locations.
Not 2. No, 2 WrestleManias. WrestleMania, like, no.
WrestleMania, no. Doug, let's hit that main event.
Let's do it.
I don't feel like I'm freezing, but it looks like I'm having some bandwidth issues.
Looks like you're a little glitchy. Maybe time to increase the bandwidth with more kids in the house, Kevin.
Yeah, that could be the case. We are doing a double preview. Let's start with NXT Heatwave here in our main event.
Let me pull up Heatwave.
Doug, I want to start with what is going to be a triple threat match to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. We have Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice, who, is obviously being used quite a bit now in play by WWE. Kalani Jordan as well. I, though, think that Miss Parker is so over with the crowd, and I feel like the others have had their moments thus far in NXT, that this is the moment that they push Jada forward and have her as the number 1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. What say you?
Yes, I just pulled up Jada Parker because, as much as I like it every time I see it, I am not a constant watcher of NXT, so I'm trying to get caught up here and see. Yeah, I can see Parker getting a push at this point. I can totally see that. So I'm gonna lean heavily into you to tell me what's going on with all of these matches.
Well, I know this next one you're going to know, and I know you're going to have an opinion on this one because I'm going to go for my next preview. Let's talk Jordynne Grace versus Blake Monroe, who Doug, as Mariah May.
Yeah, I don't like that Blake Monroe name, but Jordynne Grace. It's interesting. I came across like just a YouTube short this weekend that showed like the evolution of Jordynne Grace, which is really quite fascinating of an evolution, the way that she has evolved, that look and that physique through the years. That aside, Jordynne Grace, I think, should destroy, Mariah May. What's her name? Grace. Blake Monroe. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say her name is Grace too. No, it's Blake Monroe. But she should destroy her. But I don't think it'll happen. I think Blake Monroe has got to really go over, and I'm sure that WWE stealing her from Tony as well, because that's what they do. They're just trying to destroy the poor guy, like we were just talking about.
Poor Tony.
They got to make her look really, really good because they've just got this new product. They didn't quite get there with Jade Cargill, so maybe Blake Monroe is the person.
I agree with you on both the winner and the rationale as to why. Jordynne Grace is obviously special, and I think WWE knows she's special, and I think WWE knows she will continue to be special even if she loses. Chapter 1 in this story has been the shiny new toy of Blake Monroe coming in and pulling one over on Jordynne Grace by screwing her over, feigning friendship, a very quick double cross. You wouldn't have Jordan necessarily in Chapter 2 get that back just now. I think Blake Monroe, through shenanigans, is going to somehow either get this to a non-finish or somehow sneak out a win that she should not have, but she will have, because from the vignettes to the presentation. I mean, we've known, if you've watched AEW, we've known Mariah May is special for a while. She was my pick for female wrestler of the year. I do a couple years back. I do think that she's still going to be something special in WWE as well, and they're not going to slow down that momentum with a loss this early in her run.
No, don't see it happening.
NXT Championship, the tag champs, Doug. I know that you might not be as familiar with some of these guys, but what we have is the champs of Hank and Tank taking on Dark State.
Hank and Tank are going to win just because I love that name. Is that their team name, Hank and Tank?
That's their character names. We got Hank. Well, actually, yeah, one's named Hank, and he met up with a guy named Tank, and now they're Hank and Tank.
I love it. Hank and Tank for the win. I'm all in.
You know, they have been a very fun tag team to watch. Dark State has not been fun to watch, which is actually why I think Dark State's going to win. Dark State, Doug, is they do the whole we're outsiders who are coming in to take over. Like, you know, I know that's a trope in wrestling, but they've been in some ways kind of a retribution style group, which is not a good thing.
Like Retribution. Okay.
You want it to be like the Nexus style or the Shield style invasion, and not the Retribution style invasion. And unfortunately for Dark State, none of these guys are names or, you know, big names, and because they're at developmental level. And so they don't necessarily appear all that threatening unless they get a big signature win. I think if they want to make them more than just a Retribution retread, they're going to have to give them the win. I'm not saying they deserve it. I actually have not been crazy about anything presented just yet. Hank and Tank, I would prefer to win this. I think they might go with Dark State just to give them some legitimacy.
That's probably right, but Hank and Tank, come on. How cool of a name is that? Come on.
You would like them if you actually saw the characters too. They're fun.
I mean, that's tell me they're like the Outriders too, because that would just put them over the top for me.
They are definitely more on the comedic side, so in that regard, they are more like they're definitely akin to the Outriders.
Awesome.
Triple threat for the TNA Women's title. Doug, you know some of these names. I know JC Jane is our champion, and she will be taking on Masha Slamovich as well as Ash by Elegance. Who, gosh, what was her name in WWE?
Dana Brooke.
Dana Brooke, thank you. But Dana Brooke. Is for the TNA title. So before you pick a winner in this one, Doug, I will point out that JC Jane holds not only the TNA women's title, she is also the NXT women's champion, and only the TNA title is up for grabs. You have two TNA wrestlers who are going for that title. Knowing that information, do you have a thought as a armchair booker as to where this may go?
So I'm a fan of the name Slamovich, because if you're going to be a wrestler, I mean, if you weren't going to be a wrestler, I mean, this girl could not help it. You know, her last name is Slamovich. So,
I mean, what else could she be?
Right. But yeah, then there's Ash by Elegance, and I got a little special place in my heart for Dana Brooke. So I'm going to go with Ash by Elegance, just because.
I don't know if it's going to be Masha or Ash, but I do think that JC loses here. And for a couple of reasons. One, TNA already has a champion who is on the NXT brand. Their world champion on the men's side is Trick Williams. And so their women's championship has also been hijacked by another company. It's made for a really compelling storyline. I think that will also help propel a TNA show if they manage to get it opposite of an AEW, because to watch a promotion who legitimately seems like a different promotion than the invading promotion lose all their championships. So you got faces and heels coming together to defend TNA against these outsiders. It's a unique position to find oneself in for their programming. But I do think that eventually TNA has to start getting some wins. They can't just be dominated. And I think because Trick Williams has been a more consistent character for longer, and that JC can still walk away with a world title because she holds the NXT championship, I think she will drop the TNA championship to a member of the TNA roster. I'm going to go, though, Slamovich, just so we can have a disagreement on it.
And it's a cool name too. So it's not as cool as Hank and Tank, but Slamovich. I mean, if Slamovich could get with Hank and Tank and they could do like some sort of like stable, I think that would be great. Hank, Tank, and Slamovich. Come on.
These days, who knows? It all can happen. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on.
Who knows?
But yeah, it probably means though if we pick different TNA wrestlers that JC Jane is retaining as a double champion, probably. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our main event, which is the NXT Championship, where Obafemi has been very, very dominant. He is the current champion. He will be taking on, this is what we don't know. We're live on Sunday if you're watching right now at the 8 o'clock hour. If you're watching us later, we tape this before the Tuesday night NXT, where there will be a match between Javon Evans and Trick Williams to decide who gets to take on Obafemi. But I'll just go ahead and say WWE 101 in their booking philosophy is if you have two guys fighting to see who's the number one contender and you make a big deal about it like you're doing this Tuesday night show, some sort of shenanigans will happen that will put both these men in the match, and you will have a triple threat with all three men involved.
I was actually looking at the lineup, and I just mistakenly read it as a triple threat already. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Wait a minute. But yeah, I see that as a triple threat too. It just comes down to the wire and everybody's all in.
It does. And honestly, any of these three men I can see as the person you put the rocket on in NXT. Obafemi has been fantastic and has been so good in a short amount of time. Javon Evans, Doug, I know you're familiar. You've seen Javon a time or two. That boy is bouncy, as his theme music will say. He's so exciting. Trick Williams has gone next level with his character. He has dominated. Honestly, he's not the champion, but his presence is the dominant one on NXT. He's the guy probably most likely to come up to the main roster, but he's also the TNA world champ right now. So I'm going to say Obafemi probably retains in this scenario, and it leads to a one-on-one match with one of these two individuals. I'm going to say Javon Evans might be the guy who eventually dethrones him, because I do think Trick Williams may be either headed completely to TNA, or once that TNA title is dropped, he's on his way to Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I was thinking Oba is going to retain here. I'm not sure how it goes down, but I have seen a bit of Oba, and dude's a beast. So I like, so I think at the end of the day he retains.
And I do think that this will steal the show. This will be the match of the night with these three, but we will see next Sunday night. But you have your choice next Sunday night, which is where we are going to pivot to talk about Forbidden Door, which, unlike your Peacock subscription, maybe it'll be different when it goes to ESPN and the prices start to be a little closer together. But for right now, your NXT pay-per-view is going to be your least expensive choice. But if you have a few more dollars to spend in the inkling, you can also watch next Sunday night Forbidden Door, which is a co-promotion that annually occurs between AEW and New Japan. Doug, before we get into the matches, and there actually are a decent amount that are already lined up, which sometimes Tony's, some of the matches don't come together until that final week. We have a lot we can preview here. I will say off the bat, though, that it does seem the last few years that New Japan's involvement is more tangible than it is concrete. That first one was a,
straight up partnership.
Promotion. This seems more like AEW show with a smattering of New Japan involvement.
Yes, probably because every time we have one of these, Tony ends up taking half the roster from New Japan.
They're afraid to bring people over that they'll get on the wrong bus and Tony won't take them back home.
Of course, New Japan should probably stop, contracting all their people and have their contracts end all at the same time every year. So Tony can just scoop them up right after Forbidden Door.
Doug, I will start with this one because we have so many title matches as pay-per-views often do for Tony Khan. Let's talk about a non-title match, but one that's had a storyline that's probably been going as long as anything on here, and that is the storyline of Cope and Christian Cage versus Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. Obviously, Christian Cage's patriarchy storyline, Kip and Nick have has been long simmering in the history with Cope and Christian, Edge and Christian. It speaks for itself. Don't we have to have a feel-good moment here of Edge and Christian / Cope and Christian going over?
Of course we do. And then we get a 5-second pose after that.
Have to. And maybe a concerto. Will we see a concerto?
Yes. We see a concerto. We get a 5-second pose at the end. It all comes together. It is nothing but a feel-good moment where we finally get these two guys who've been in the same promotion forever, and they straight up swerve us when Cope shows up. Straight up do a swerve where Christian goes heel on him. And finally, we get to bring it all back together. So, yeah, feel good. Wherever this is on the card, feel good moment.
Let's talk about another, I don't know if you'd call it a feel good moment, but it's certainly a people coming together again kind of moment. And this is the lights out steel cage match.
There's like 58 people in this match, Kevin.
There are. And the coming together that I'm referring to is that of the Golden Lovers, where we get Kota Ibushi back on our TV screens, reunited with Kenny Omega. But they are not alone. As Doug said, half the roster is in this match. But the Golden Lovers are teaming up with Darby Allin, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay versus the Death Riders and the Young Bucks, who are also having Gabe Kidd on their side. It's a lot of people.
Gabe Kidd.
Yeah, Gabe Kidd.
I mean, it's a little bit simpler when you read Death Riders and Young Bucks and Gabe Kidd, but that's.
And really, the New Japan involvement here, despite the history of most of these people in New Japan, the actual New Japan contracted wrestler is the New Japan president, Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the faces on this one as well.
Yeah. I really expected the Death Riders to dissolve after Mox dropped the belts, but I guess that's not a thing that's happening. And I kind of had my own vision of how the Death Riders ended, and I think we're past that expiration date now. But yeah, I'm going with the baby faces here too.
This next one is maybe a little hard to call, or I should maybe say a little premature to call, because we do not know who are going to be taking on the Hurt Syndicate for the championships. It's an eliminator tournament winners, which we don't know yet. Do we think, though, that the Hurt Syndicate are going to lose anything until MJF is somewhat more involved?
No, I don't think the Hurt Syndicate is going to lose anything for a while. I do.
They do hurt people,
They that's what their theme song says, But the Hurt Syndicate, first of all, is there's cool heels to cheer for, right? They're those guys because they hurt people. Even baby faces use them, like Cope did like a few weeks ago to hurt people. So they're too cool for school right now. It's going to have something else, up in them.
So no matter who they face, right?
Right, because I would think that eventually, we're going to get FTR and Christian and Edge into something there, but they don't really need to go after a belt to deal with all that. That doesn't need to be part of the story. If it is, that's cool. But yeah, the Hurt Syndicate's not going anywhere. They're going to continue hurting people, Kevin.
I agree 100% on that. Regardless of who wins the Eliminator to get in there. The next one, though, is a singles match for the AEW Unified Championship. Kazuchika Okada is the champion. He just unified those titles. I am intrigued by a Okada Swerve Strickland match. I don't know, or I don't have a memory of this matchup having occurred before. Right. It is going to be fantastic. This is my sleeper match of the night. Even though it won't be the main event, it has a potential to steal the show. I think Okada retains in this scenario.
I think we get to see more. We will finally get to see more of the Rainmaker than we have seen in a very long time. I know I was really iffy about that Kenny and Okada match, and it wasn't like a New Japan match that they had, but it was a really great match.
It was really good.
I think this, because of where Kenny is in his career now, I don't think they could do a 7-star match again. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think Swerve and Okada could do that Meltzer 7-star match. And I think
That
if we don't get close to it, I'm going to be shocked.
That very recent version of Okada that's come back out versus the current version of Swerve Strickland, who, in my mind, is still one of the more entertaining men to watch in AEW, regardless of if he has the championship. Mm-hmm. They will bring it. I do think Okada retains.
Yeah.
I hope that it's not. I hope it's not like a definitive win. I actually would be completely fine with a long encounter where one man just outlasts the other, and we get a rematch of this. Because even though it hasn't happened yet, I think we're going to want to see this one rolled back and done again.
Yeah, and again,
and again,
and maybe even again. Yeah,
maybe with higher stakes down the road. Foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah.
Timeless Toni Storm is the AEW World's Champion. She is defending that her forever champion from Ring of Honor, that of Athena. This one intrigues me, Doug, because it's been a long time since I have not picked Toni Storm in a match that Toni Storm was in. But there's something about this matchup that makes me wonder if Athena is the right person at the right time in this particular setting to put Toni back on her heels and raise Athena's profile. She has been a very good soldier for Tony Khan on the Ring of Honor side.
For sure.
Give her the shine of the AEW spotlight as well. I think that she has a shot to take this one.
I think we've agreed with everything on this card because I really do think it's Athena's time for like the things that you mentioned. Toni losing. I mean, Toni's lost before. Toni lost to Mariah May, and it made Mariah, and then she went, to the guys who are trying to put Toni out of business now. But Athena has been a very, very good soldier for ROH. She is that forever champion. I think her winning could actually elevate ROH too, because she then is two belt Athena, So we got that going for us. So I do think it is her time for something in AEW proper.
It should be noted that this is also Athena's Casino Gauntlet Championship contract match. She won that to earn this. Another storyline point that might lead to think that, hey, you win that gauntlet, you have an X amount. Like, the way that WWE does with the Money in the Bank. Like, you win this contract, you got a good shot at unseating the champion by picking your time, choosing your shot. We're talking about people, you said, multiple belts. Maybe that's a good segue into the four-way for the AEW TBS Championship, where you have Mercedes Moné, who has 43 titles by my last count.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
She is defending the TBS Championship against Alex Windsor from representing AEW, Persephone from CMLL. We almost forgot that, they do have a stake in the Forbidden Door, even though this is the first time one of their talent has been mentioned here. And then someone from Stardom, which is yet to be decided. I don't know. Alex Windsor's so new. Persephone, CMLL, anyone from Stardom, I don't know. Would Tony give up one of his main titles to a promotion that is fairly far away? Well, Alex Windsor obviously would be domestic, but is she too new to maybe unseat Mercedes?
She is, but she is. I don't want to say nepotism plays a part here, but if anybody's going to unseat the boss or the CEO and take one of those belts, it might be Osprey's old lady. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it would be a way to make her right away. Mercedes would still have the other 41 belts, so it would be like she would lose anything. I'm going to go that just for the sake of argument and us actually having some that we disagree on. Mercedes does not lose in AEW, or at least not very often. So I'm going to think that continues, and she continues as TBS champion until she's in a one-on-one situation with something that maybe means a little more. A program that, instead of to be decided a week before the actual pay-per-view.
I'm going with Mrs. Osprey on this one.
You're probably right. That would be the bet of anyone to Thrones. I think that
Yeah,
you're
if
correct. That's the
anybody,
way
it
it'll
would be
go.
her.
We're all in title match territory now, Doug, because there's so many championships in AEW. More than half the card is titles. This is one that is actually a promotion versus promotion matchup with a singles match for the TNT Championship, the AEW TNT Championship, the champion being Kyle Fletcher, taking on New Japan's Hiromu Takahashi. This will be great, but Kyle Fletcher is on a roll, and Kyle Fletcher retains.
Not going to lose. Yeah, Fletcher's not going to lose. I think we're falling back into lockstep here.
This next one, I think, will probably fall into lockstep too, and this is one of the more intriguing matches on the card in that just the Forbidden Door concept being promotion versus promotion or special attractions that you don't normally see. This is like one of the few matches that actually squarely falls into that category in my mind, and that is a singles match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You have Zack Sabre Jr., the champion, defending against, returning to the ring yet again, Nigel McGuinness.
I love me some Nigel, but what? Come on. Come on. Nigel's doing like this like odd little like farewell tour where he wrestles and then he goes and then
it's
he
a stealth farewell tour. It's not like
it
really a farewell tour.
It really is because he sneaks back in and he returns to the ring, but then he's away and then he returns to the ring and they're always in these big like high profile matches.
Yeah,
I mean he's not beating Zack Sabre Jr., but he's going to come close. He's going to look really great doing what he's doing in his stealth farewell tour. That he just, I don't know what he's doing, but I'm there for it.
It's not the John Cena of having these big rewind matches where I probably will let you down and not be like the matches we had back in the day. Right. But I'm going to win. To Nigel, stealthily not calling it a farewell tour, but coming back for these very specific opponents like Bryant or Zack Sabre, where you can't have a bad match, and they'll overperform despite how much rust should be on him. Honestly, at this point, he's already shown that he has knocked rust off. These two will actually have a really solid professional wrestling match.
Yeah.
And Zack Sabre will dissect his, body parts and come out still the champion. But we will be entertained.
Yes. We will indeed be entertained.
Which leads us to our main event, which like 90% of these matches is really not a interpromotional match in any way. It's just a normal AEW pay-per-view match, but it is a significant one in that you get your recently crowned champion of Hangman Adam Page being tested by the man who won the Casino Gauntlet match on the men's side. He also is cashing in on this night. That is one MJF, arguably the secret weapon of Tony Khan as far as like an AEW guy through and through. Actually, both these guys are probably, I think, top of the list of AEW creations, or mostly AEW creations that Tony can take credit for. I know Adam was in ROH and MJF was in MLW amongst others, but these are really two guys that have come high profile under the AEW banner. Does seem kind of cool and fitting that you can have a main event match where you're not having a John Moxley who made his name elsewhere with the big fit. Like, these are two AEW creations you can point to and say, we make stars here. And this will be an entertaining match. I don't know that Adam Page can lose after just winning, but MJF has got to have some momentum too.
See, this one is hard because it does not. It's just hard because I really think in my wrestling brain, because my brain wrestles, I don't, but my brain does. But in my wrestling brain, Hangman can't lose after just basically finishing his story, right? I mean, he's had this redemption. He's had this redemption arc. He is their Cody right now, so he can't lose. But MJF is MJF and is super hot because he's MJF. And he's finally back in this title picture. But if he loses, then what? I mean, I don't think he loses any heat, but I don't know. This one is just so rough to call. At the end of the day, I'm going to say Hangman retains. I'm not sure how that happens or how it works out. MJF doesn't get that belt, but he gets closer to it. There's got to be something to protect him.
we referenced earlier, or I think that the Hurt Syndicate story, the Bobby Lashley story, has an MJF angle still to come. And I'm wondering if that somehow factors into MJF coming just short this time around, and then furthers his business with the Hurt Syndicate and MVP in particular, who is taking a very interesting middle ground of, hey, these are my guys, but you're still my boy. And, Bobby's Bobby. This didn't work out. That's the way that the MJF story is going. Hangman Page has to continue beyond one unsuccessful title defense.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, Doug, we have successfully, in a brief period of time, managed to preview not one PLE, but two PLEs for next weekend. Two very full PLEs that you probably can't go wrong whichever one you choose to watch, because there's some good matches on both of these cards next Sunday night.
Yes. And we did it with our technical difficulties at the beginning. It got us on air late, but we're still here on time and under budget.
On time, under budget, hitting our big finish. Doug,
do it.
We haven't done a big finish in a couple of weeks. What has been your botch that you have seen in the world of professional wrestling?
However it comes down, work or shoot, this whole thing with Karrion Kross and Scarlett, total botch in my mind. I mean, if it's a work, it's at this point, it's ridiculous that it's a work. If it's a shoot, why did you let Karrion Kross go? I mean,
either way, it doesn't work for you.
It does not work for me either way. It just doesn't.
I'm with you. I feel that.
So, I mean, it's one of those things in wrestling where two things can be true at the same time. It just doesn't work for me either way. Why'd you let them go, or why are you doing this ridiculousness with them?
So
that's my botch.
Doesn't work for me is my botch is also this doesn't work for me. And I don't care if it's a marquee match, and I don't care if it is something we've not seen in a while. I just don't know that Brock Lesnar coming back with unresolved issues. Let's not forget that there is currently lawsuits and accusations and clouds of suspicion under Brock Lesnar being the talent that Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis was passing around other female employees to in their whole sex trafficking scandal. It does seem odd that a company like TKO would break glass now on let's bring back Brock Lesnar. I have nothing against Brock Lesnar, the character that we see on screen. I think that is an attraction. I just don't know that now is the time that you bring him back. And so for that, WWE, you get my botch.
Yep, that's a botch. Big bad botch.
Big bad botch. Doug, your performance of the week.
My performance of the week has to go to Dominic Mysterio, man. This kid is such. I mean, he is such wrestling royalty, first of all. And I was thinking about this today. Just because you're a famous last name in wrestling, we don't see any more. Remember Horace Hogan? That didn't go far. We got our Ortons. We've got Mysterio, but there's just been as many. We've got what Piper has a daughter in wrestling, isn't? Oh gosh, there are others.
There's all kinds. Right? Yeah, Paul Ellering's daughter has a
Ellering. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Ellering's daughter. But my point is, that nepotism that exists in wrestling to a certain degree has nothing to do. Dom has got so over, and he was so hot, so over. People were booing Vikingo and cheering for him at Triple Mania this weekend. That just speaks volumes of how over Dom is with the luchas and the non-luchas. And Dom could drop in to Forbidden Door and just go over with the New Japan audience this next weekend if he wanted to. But Dom, my performer of the week this week.
I'm going to get back to something you said there in the moment after my performance of the week, because what you just said ties into something I'm talking about later on. My performance of the week, and I'll make it quick so we can get to that ending.
Okay.
And that is Bayley. Bayley has, in many ways, had a rough last 365 days. Just like Doug is having a rough time right now with his camera. But her performance on Raw this week, you want to talk about a very sports-like, realistic breakdown moment of I'm suffering and it's all my fault. That was a very intriguing seed plant, and it was executed with a professional actor's level ability, not like a pro wrestling melodrama. Right. I loved it, and I look forward to seeing where it's going, and hopefully it helps refresh that Bayley character.
Yes, because that Bayley character does need a refresh, but
yeah, and that was a good start. Which brings us to our match of the week, Doug.
All right, so I'm going with that AAA main event. That AAA main event at Triple Mania. My goodness. I flooded with WWE talent. I mean, at this point, we might as well call Vikingo WWE talent too. I'm surprised he didn't drop that belt to Dom and they do an exchange at this point. But my goodness, that was great, great.
100% agree.
I don't understand why people boo Vikingo. I don't know is he a heel in AAA? I don't know.
So that's where I was going to go with this and talk about it in my match of the week because of what you said about Dom being cheered. So my match of the week, also a brilliant match between Vikingo, Dominic, Dragon Lee, and El Grande Americana. They tore the house down. Once again, the WWE AAA partnership put on a very entertaining pay-per-view for free. Last I looked today, it was like 1.2 million. So there's definitely a huge appetite. The story, though, behind why Vikingo is getting booed is not Vikingo that's necessarily getting booed. It is WWE and WWE booking that's getting booed. The whole you are taking our promotion thing we warned about when we did our episode on the possible drawbacks of this partnership. Believe it or not, there is a groundswell of support for Alberto Del Rio, who was the champion when all this happened. WWE made the switch because they don't want to do business with Del Rio, and the fans resented the external involvement. And poor Vikingo, very possibly the best high flyer in the world, and very likely the next Rey Mysterio on a global scale for WWE if the cards were played right. The fans in this instant booed WWE's booking of taking – it's kind of like the whole you took Cody Rhodes' rightful spot away from him at Royal Rumble and gave it to The Rock, and we didn't sign on for that. They did not like the way things went down with Del Rio, believe it or not, and Vikingo is unfortunately – getting the booze out of that. And it is going to be a big problem for WWE moving forward if they want to make Vikingo a huge star and face. The easiest thing they probably could have done is actually let Vikingo lose without losing in a four-way and letting someone like a Dominic Mysterio, who is more naturally a pure heel that people will probably end up turning against, especially if Ray got involved. But poor Vikingo is in an awkward spot right now, and who would have ever thought that Alberto Del Rio would be the subject of such sympathy, but it is nationalism at play here.
Interesting, because I did not understand why Vikingo was getting booed. I mean, it's clear to me why Dom gets so many pops. Why Vikingo is getting booed? I was like, what is going on here? Why? What is happening?
This is a story that we'll definitely need to watch, and who knows, it could be an entire episode all of its own if there is the downside to this partnership being fans rejecting WWE's influence.
Wow.
But it was definitely all over the place. I mean, the finger was on every scale. So, if you don't like that, you probably would boo. But with that, Doug, we are off until August 28th, as you can see. If you watch the live version of our show on YouTube, we obviously will not be going on live next Sunday night opposite the two pay-per-views that we just previewed for you. Instead, next week's show, we're going to hold off and do the live version on YouTube on Thursday night. And that way we can give you, prior to the holiday weekend, your Clash in Paris preview, because we are the PLE pay-per-view preview review show, the Two Bros Wrestling preview review show. A lot of good wrestling to watch. Enjoy it next weekend, and please join us for our Clash in Paris preview show.
Absolutely. And until then, folks, go watch some wrestling. There's a free pay-per-view out there that is amazing. Go watch it. YouTube. Go watch it.
Iguana, and then like the demon's got a puppet.
Yes, and the demon. Yes. Yes, it's great.
Everyone.